Australia, and it is Tuesday night. I am a little bit late, I apologise. I had a telehealth appointment. It was an initial appointment and went a little bit longer than I was expecting, but in a good way. I didn't feel rushed at all, which is really, really nice. So I am here now. And yes, as it is Tuesday night, it is time for my weekly online class to go. So for those who are new to my Facebook page or my YouTube channel, welcome. On Tuesday nights, I do a live class. We make 3 cards each week using a featured stamp set or bundle. And for anyone who places an order of $75 or more before shipping and after any Stampin' Rewards redemption, by the end of Saturday night, I will send you the kits to make 2 each of the 3 cards from this week's class. So you get all the cardstock, designer series paper, any ribbon that is needed, any dies or punches or punch shapes that are not part of the featured bundle are included, but the ones from the featured bundle, I'll send you either the cardstock or designer series paper, depending on what is used, but you will need to die cut those yourself. So if you are using a different stamp and die bundle, then you can die cut the appropriate shape for the stamps that you've got. So this week we are using the Fern and Flora bundle. I will just switch my camera around. So these are the cards for this week. And so this is the stamp set. So we've got the large stamped fern shapes, and a couple of flower images, sentiments, butterflies, got a label, border, and then the dies, I think, yes I do. I dug these out before. I am a little bit behind, but I did pull these out. So you've got this one here is the outline for the stamped fern, and then you've got ones that you can use on their own, and then obviously the butterfly shapes, the other flower shapes. This one is a bunch of pieces to make flowers from. So die cut shapes for that, and the label die cut as well. So let's get started. I'll just move. I've got far too much stuff as always on my desk, and I'm not fully organized, but we will start with this one. So this one, I've used a basic black card base, and we've got the Moonlit Flora designer series paper, which is really, really nice. It is one of those ones that looks way better in person than it does in the catalogue or online. It's really, really nice. I've got the label die cut. I've used Golden Glow. This is one of the new in colours. That I've used the Stylish Shapes dies. So this one is from the paper, and that one is Lost Lagoon, and then I've pre-cut the fern shapes. Now some people may be wondering with some of these ferns with the dies if they're difficult to die cut. They're not. As long as you run it through twice, you shouldn't have any issues getting out of the die. Just, you know, be careful. Obviously you've got very fine pieces, so just pull it out gently. Use adhesive sheets. It is so much easier, and for once I did actually remember to use adhesive sheets for all of them. Doesn't usually happen, but this time I did. But yeah, they're really easy to use. They're not difficult at all. Run it through twice, you should be absolutely fine. And then this one, so I've pre-stamped that in Memento Black, and then I have two of the little butterflies, I used Soft Sea Foam cardstock and the new Peaceful Pine, which is one of the ink colours as well. So let's start putting this together. Now this piece is almost the full card base size. It's not quite. I have left a very, very fine border. I could have gone full size, but I decided I did want just a tiny, tiny little border. So definitely recommend the liquid glue for this one so that you can adjust and get it in place as evenly as you can. Hi Renee, how are you? Sorry I'm late. Alright, so let's get this down and as close as we can, so it's very fine border. So I'm just going to move that around ever so slightly until I get it right where I want it. And there is no ribbon needed on this part. There is ribbon later, but I don't need to wrap it around, which is good because I've already stuck this down. All right. And speaking of ribbon, I'm going to pull this one out and just put it there because I will forget. So we will stick these together. Haven't even got my blends out yet. It's been a little bit rushed today, particularly this evening, so we'll get there. We will get there. For the most part, this class isn't too bad time-wise, although the next one there is a bit of colouring, and I should have done a little bit of it ahead of time, but I didn't. So you just have to bear with me on that one. I will go as quickly as I can because it's one that's all one colour, so it's not, you know, anything super exciting. So this one we're going sort of towards the left, and you know, not quite, a bit towards the top, not right up at the top, but not halfway down either. So just a little bit up, just eyeball it. It's, you know, it's not a big deal if it's not in exactly the same spot. So I have used for these pieces, I've used one is, so this one is the Mossy Meadow two-tone cardstock, and then this one is Old Olive. So you could use just one, and do one in the light and one in the dark, or you can do what I did and use both colours. Hi Dimity, how are you? It's been a busy day and night. But I got here eventually. Alrighty, so stick that down, and the good thing with the adhesive sheets, particularly for these, is it's very easy if you need to move the piece around. If it's not quite where you want it, you can move it around. Just pick it up and adjust it. Very easy, which is a very useful feature of the adhesive sheets. Right, so blends, Granny Apple Green and Berry Burst. So we have the dark and the light. I still haven't replaced my granny apple green ones yet, so they're still going. They're still going. And obviously these leaves aren't particularly big, so you're not going to be able to fit, you know, a huge amount in terms of, you know, shading and depth of colour, so don't stress too much about it. Just add a bit of both, blend it in. Does not need to be perfect. Alrighty, so that is all the leaves done, I think. Yes, it is. And then we have berry burst. You could easily get away with just using either the light or the dark for this one, and particularly with the berry burst, it's both the light and the dark are quite dark. I'm not going to worry for this one too much about colouring the centre bit of the flower, just because particularly for this one that I'm doing now, I'm going to end up covering that centre bit anyway. But you could use crisp cantaloupe or golden glow or any other yellowy or orangey one that you've got. It's going to be largely hidden, so not a big deal. And yes, being able to use both hands comes in very handy. It came in very handy today, not for colouring but for writing, purely because I was having to write quite a lot and my hand was getting quite sore, so I just switched. Very handy. Does freak people out a bit though. Alright, nearly done with this one. I think that is done. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. If I have, we'll just cover it up. Alright, so we will stick this one in the center. I'm not going to use dimensionals for this one, just because the sentiment is going to sit up on dimensionals over the top, so it'll make it a bit uneven and add a bit too much height if I do that. So I'm just going to sit this one flat, but if you wanted to, you absolutely could, and you could pop up the main part of the flower and then leave sort of the bottom bit and stick the sentiment just over the lower part without the dimensionals on it. So that is one option. Just get these butterflies down and then we'll do the sentiment. So the sentiment is embossed in white. And I think I need to adjust this one ever so slightly. There we go. So one down here and another one up the top. If it decides to cooperate. Sometimes these backings just do not want to come off. There we go. So that one there, and then I'll move this to the side. I'll get my embossing kit out. Oops, dropping stuff. Alrighty, I think that is everything for the moment. Let's make sure I've got this the right way around. Don't need the black yet, that one's for later. Most important thing, make sure you go over your cardstock with your embossing buddy. Make sure that's well and truly covered. Alrighty, now which sentiment? No, not that one, this one. Okay. And make sure I'm roughly centered and make sure it's on the block properly. I put these on in a bit of a rush. Everything was in a bit of a rush tonight, so I'm not sure how well this is. Yeah, it's not quite where I want it, but we'll make it work. It'll be fine. A little bit too far over to one edge, but that's fine. We'll deal with it. And actually there's ribbon in that in the right hand side, so that'll kind of work, I think. Don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. If it is, we'll just cover it in embellishments. And just brush off any little bits. I think that's looking pretty good. Let's tip this back in the jar, even though it looks like I'm probably going to end up with a bit of black in there, but we'll deal with that. Let's just get that back in. Otherwise I will end up with it going everywhere. And we do have more embossing later. So let's get this out. Try and pick this up without rubbing any of the powder off. Let's go. See how that's looking. That's pretty good, I think I can see a tiny speck of black embossing powder in there, but tiny, tiny, tiny. Alrighty, so all that is left now for this one is we will add some dimensionals to this one, and then we just need to add the insert and embellishments, add the ribbon, and then we are good to go. Let's set it about there, I think. And alrighty. Get this one down. And so embellishments for this one. So I've got some of the, and we need the ribbon of course, some of the new in color butterflies, and then you can use some of these are the dewdrops embellishments. I'm actually trying to use up the last of my cherry cobbler and pearl adhesive backed berries, and I'm just, these little trios, I'm actually just splitting those up and using those, but the clear ones for these are essentially pretty much the same, and I originally designed it based around those. I just saw those still had a few left, wanted to use them up, so that's what I'm using. And if you don't have the dewdrops because they are new and you don't have them yet, then find something in your stash that is similar. Pretty much anything really that's sort of clear or close to clear is going to do the job. Use what you've got. Much as it is fun to buy new stuff, always use up what you've got. And I've messed that up. Let's try that again. Not really thinking properly as I do this one, and it's one that I always tend to mess up anyway. All right. Just tighten that. And we want this one to be a fairly small bow. We don't want a huge big long ribbon for this one. So we will keep it pretty small. That should be more than enough. Where are my glue dots? And if you find that the ribbon isn't quite staying put as well as you'd like, you can always add extra glue dots. So wherever it's sort of trying to move, just add more glue dots underneath. So I'm going to try and just make this just a little bit smaller because you don't want it too big. And then I'll just trim it down. Oops, didn't do a good job of that one. trim this one down. A little bit further as well. Then we will add, I'm going to add one of the white. So these butterflies, you've got the, and I'm going to cover that tiny little speck of stray embossing powder there. And then I'm just going to split these up. And they will end up all over the place, but that's fine. If you find that the adhesive is sort of spilling out the sides, you can just fold it underneath and just flatten it. So I'm going to put some of these on some of the flowers. And we'll go at least one more, I think. Where was my spare one? There it is. So let's go with trying to decide. I was going to go down there, but then I've got sort of 3 in a row. So let's, once it decides to cooperate and not stick on my finger, let's get that one sitting in there. I think that should be enough. And I don't think there is anything else to add to that one. So there is our first card. That's that one done. Now, next one. So this is the one that does have a bit more colouring, and some of it will take a bit longer and be probably very dull, but so this one we have a Peaceful Pine card base. So this is one of the new in colours. So this one, and then so I've got some embossed cardstock, soft sea foam, and a bunch of the images. A whole bunch of those. We've got a few extras for this one. If I can get them all out. So a little bit of colouring to do for this one. I also need my Secret Sea ribbon. Now let's put that together. Now, Dimity, in terms of ribbon and gem shares, there's very little ribbon this time around. It's basically the in colours only. I actually was going to message you if you do want some of the in colour ribbons. Let me know, because I've got them all already, so I can send some up to you. I hadn't decided on a gem share, but if there is interest, I will definitely do it. So let me know and I will get it organized. I am a little bit behind at the moment, but if there's interest, I will do it. So for this one, because we are not putting this on another cardstock backing before it goes on to the card front, and I'm not doing it as two pieces that are the exact measurements, I'm using my silicone mat to help basically line these up so I can work out. It's similar to the first card where it's a very fine border. It's a tiny bit more than the first one. So I'm using the silicone mat so that I can adhere the two pieces and not accidentally get adhesive where I don't necessarily want it straight away. So that's about right. So I'm just going to add, so I'm going to put the designer series paper over the embossed cardstock, and then we're going to put some ribbon over the top of that. And the ribbon that we're using, because it's quite sheer, the adhesive will go through, so we're just going to be putting the adhesive in the center part because that is going to be covered, but we still need to be careful getting it down. So let me just, I think that is pretty close to where I want it. That's looking pretty good. I'm just going to trim off just this little, just want to get the, try and get the soft sea foam bit just so that it's not sticking out these sides there. So that should be fine, and that is going to sit. That's about where we want it, so that's all good. I'll bring this back in to do the ribbon. So I'll keep it that way for the moment. Where did I put my ribbon? Apart from right in front of me, most likely. There it is, right in front of me. Alrighty. So this is, and have used this before. So this is the Secret Sea open, the bordered open weave. So adhesive will go through. You could also use glue dots on for this as well, and then we'll use tear and tape at the back. So that's going to go, don't need the tape on that end. That's going to sit about there. The middle is going to largely be covered. So I'm just going to add a little bit in the center, and you'll probably see it when you press down that it does come through. Now the difficulty obviously is, you know, trying to get it to stick and then get the tape on the back. So I probably need a little more adhesive there than what I've got, but let's see how we go. Starting to stick a bit better now, so I'm just going to wrap and just want to try and keep it as straight as you can. I don't know if I did, but I can straighten it up again now. That's better, so now I can flip that over. And then we can stick the other side down. And then all the pieces over the top will help that the rest of it sort of stick down as well. So they will all help. And I'm just trying to find spot for things to set. So we want to make the most of the adhesives that we've got. So let's take this backing off. Add glue. And get that down, just adjust it into place. It is a very, very fine border. Press down well on either side of the ribbon and the join, just so that it sits down as much as possible. And that's all good. And then we can start to adhere these pieces. I'm so glad I remembered adhesive sheets for this bundle. It makes it so much easier. So that one is going over there. And then what do we have next? We have got this one. So again, much like the first card, I used a mix of Old Olive and Mossy Meadow two-tone. And so of course you could use, if you've only got one, you could use both sides of whichever one you've got, or use a mix of both. If you've got any other greens, if you've got any of the new Peaceful Pine, that would work. Even Granny Apple Green. Just pick whichever side is going to work best with the combination that you've got. Garden Green as well, that would also work. This is one where you can get away with using a few different colors. All right, so those ones down, so we'll put that to the side. We need to do some coloring, and then we will do some heat embossing. So there's a bit to do for these. So we need the Granny Apple Green for the leaves on that one. I'm using Old Olive for this one. We need Fresh Freesia and Berry Burst. I need the light Berry Burst. We also need yes, we do need Calypso Coral. Can't remember if we need, I think we need the dark one. We also need Crisp Cantaloupe, and we need Crisp Cantaloupe, and possibly, oh yes, I did use a little bit of Golden Glow. I can't remember if it was light or dark. It was one of the two. Let me have a look. Good thing I wrote it down. I'll probably still forget when I go actually do it, but I've just got both written down. So but I'll start with this one. So this one is going to take a little bit longer, partly because it is it's quite small pieces, but you can, some of them you can sort of, they do kind of blend in to each other a bit, but when you've got lots of little ones, it does take a bit longer to colour them all in. And in terms of using, multiple colours, so I'm just using the Old Olive, and there's no real technique to it. I'm just doing bit of dark, bit of light, blend it in, you know, wherever it ends up, it ends up. I'm not focusing on trying to get any particular, you know, areas of shading or amount. It's just a bit of a mix in terms of colour, because for something like this, because you've got yeah, there's a fair bit to colour, and if you try to, you know, get it all perfect and have exactly the right shading in every little spot, you'll be here all night. And my Old Olive, particularly my light Old Olive, is definitely one that I need to replace. I do have spares, I just haven't pulled it out yet. I want to get as much out of this one as I can. And it does just need a bit of extra work to blend it in nicely, but again, doesn't have to be perfect. And some I'm going to leave mostly light, some I'll do more dark than light, just mix it up. Also trying to not, you know, not take too long colouring. At least with the reels I can speed it up. I can't do that with a live, sorry. But hey, if you do enjoy watching colouring, it can be quite relaxing, then go for it. Can be nice to watch somebody else do it. And just colour away, forget about everything else. So how has everyone's week been so far? It's only Tuesday, I know, but to be honest, it feels like it's Friday, or it should be Friday. I wish it was Friday. It's been busy. And actually I just realized I just arrived today. I do have, and I haven't even got them out of the packets yet, but I do have something I can show you later. The in color glimmer brushes are in stock, so we didn't get to order them during pre-order. They weren't available yet, but they are now available for everyone, and mine have just arrived. And I do have them sitting on the desk here with me. They are still in their packets, but we can have a look at those at the end, because I am very excited to play with those. Problem with these being quite small is it can be quite difficult sometimes to see where the leaves actually start and end and where the spaces in between are. We're getting there, we're nearly there. Getting there. And for anyone who has subscribed to Paper Pumpkin, your May kit should be on its way. So the ordering period for May has closed and they've started shipping the May boxes out, so they are on their way. Okay, we are nearly there. Let's just do all the dark now, just to sort of speed this up a little, maybe. Keeps trying to stick to my hand. I've just got a little bit of glue on the end of one of my fingers and it just wants to stick. All right, let's see how it's all looking. I think it's pretty close to done. I think we had, yeah, I think that's just about done. Don't think we need much more than that. Maybe just a couple of little bits that need a bit more, and I think we are good. All right. So that's that one done. That's the long one. That is the long one. All right, and let's go to the flower. So not old olive, granny apple green for the leaves for this one. I've started the April Paper Pumpkin Dimity. I haven't finished. I started working on it at the market last month. I think I got at least one card finished, as in one single card, not even one set of a design. Haven't had a chance to finish it off, which is very frustrating, and there's also lots of alternatives that I want to play around with as well, but I haven't quite got that far yet. I feel like I'm just constantly playing catch up, trying to keep up with everything at the moment, so I'm definitely behind on where I want to be with, well, a lot of things, but yes, definitely Paper Pumpkin. Alright, that's done for that one. That one is done. At least the leaves are done. And then we are going to use crisp, that's Calypso Coral. I want the crisp cantaloupe. Where is the other? That's my crisp cantaloupe. That's better. So crisp cantaloupe for the flowers. you're not going to get a huge amount of shading with these because they are quite small, but you know, even just a little bit is always nice. Also just depends on the colors that you are using. I'm going to add a little bit more in the center here and across the top. That's better. Okay. This one at least is it's a lot quicker. And where are we? Okay, that is that bit done. I'll just add, even though I'm probably going to cover up most of it, I will add a tiny bit of golden glow to the center. You probably won't notice it that much, but do it anyway. So there's that one, and then we have the two butterflies. So one, I am going in dark fresh freesia and light berry burst. So I'm going to do the dark, the light berry burst, which is the darker of the two, in the outside, and then blend in with the dark fresh freesia, which I'll also put in the center there. Flip it around, same on the other side. It's always a lot harder when after you've die cut. It's much easier to color when you've got the pieces on a bigger piece of cardstock. You've just got much easier to color. Right, that is that one. And then last of the coloring for this one, we have a little bit of golden glow, calypso coral, and crisp cantaloupe, I think. Calypso coral, I think so. Let's see how we go. So I'm just going to do, just going to go in there, and this is partly to see how it looks, because I'll go over it with a bit more color once I've got, yeah, I think that will add a bit more. And let's go a bit dark crisp cantaloupe now, just to blend that one in. That'll blend in a bit better, and add to the light that we've already put down, so that works well. And then a bit of golden glow in the center, and also sort of out into the sides ever so slightly, and a tiny bit there. All right, that is those bits done for now. Let's start putting some of this together, and then we'll do the heat embossing. So I'm just going to glue this one down flat. I'm just going to bring this over ever so slightly. That's better. So that can go there. This one I am going to pop up on dimensionals. Trying to flip over on me. And one more in the middle there, and I do just want a tiny bit more in that. Bottom section, just down here. There we go. I'm not going to worry about the bottom because I'm going to be putting the sentiment over the top, and that is also going to be popped up on dimensional, so I don't want it sitting up too high. All right, that is going to sit about, yeah, it's about there. And let's get these, might as well get these little butterflies up now. The less stuff I have lying around to get flying off the desk, or in places I don't want it, or just disappearing on me, the better. So if it's stuck down, it's less likely to be going anywhere. So the more we can stick down, the better. And that one can go there. We don't need the backing. All right, so let's put that to the side for the moment, and also that one. Bring our embossing back in. And make sure I don't forget my embossing buddy. So I've used Golden Glow again, and I stamped the border image before I die cut. So you could also heat emboss that as well if you wanted to. I decided for this one I would just leave it and just heat emboss the center. And we will ink this up. See if I can get this a little better centered this time. That's a bit better. Okay, this time we are going with black. carefully tip that off. And just dust off any little stray bits that you can. You may not be able to get everything, just get what you can, because you'll almost always have them no matter how well you dust your piece with your embossing buddy beforehand. They just have a habit of, they like to stick to things. And definitely tip this back in before we start heating, because I will end up knocking it around, blowing it around with the heat tool, all the things I don't want to be doing. Okay, and then let's move all of these out of the way. Bring this back in, carefully pick this up so we don't smudge anything, hopefully. And let's heat it up. Okay, I think that, oh, it's a little bit not quite melted. All right, I think that, I'm actually wondering if I've possibly overheated slightly. It's entirely possible, but I think it's okay. It'll be fine. And yes, to anyone who is not sure, yes, you can overheat embossing powder, but that'll be fine. Alrighty. So that is going to sit about there. So I'm not going to put, hopefully remember not to put dimensionals just up there, just because I've got some lower down there. So I'll put some down the bottom, in the middle, and then we can go along, and I'll just add a little bit of adhesive to that top section. That way it will still be sticking to something and it's not just loose. And just a little bit there. So we can put that there, and then I need some of, and this is, well, I don't know if it's still available, or if it's available, it's on last chance list. But the black and white and gold baker's twine that was part of the Christmas, one of the Christmas sweets. And I was just playing around with different ribbons and twines and decided that this one worked for this particular design, so I went with it. So I think I've got just about enough. I'm trying to keep this one quite small, and I may have ended up going too small, but we'll see. So I like to go the double bow because it gives the glue dots a bit more to sort of grip and to hide as well. Makes it much easier to hide the glue dots. You just need to be careful when you're adjusting to try and keep the bows even. So I need this one just a little bit bigger. I can't even see the end of this one. But hey, I do want it to be quite small, so it does actually work. And then add a glue dot. Oh, it is still available on Last Chance, you think, Dimity? That's good, because I do quite like it. Like, I've used it for quite a few things other than Christmas ones. It's quite a useful one to have. Just wish they'd kept it around a bit longer, but that's all right. I've still got some. And it will be included in the kits with this week's class, so you will get some, a little bit more than that, so you can actually tie the bows a little bit easier. All right, insert. Let's get that one down. And then with the embellishments, so I've used a couple of different ones, and I've done, for one of them, I've done the same as what I did with the first one, where it was based on using the dewdrops, which are one of the new ones, but I'm going to use up some of my the old pearl adhesives just to use them up, but and then I've also got one other, so those are the dewdrops, and again it's the same clear ones that I used before. The other one that I used, and I just got the one, and these are from the Christmas or the August to December mini, the Delightful Decorative Dots, but any sort of orangey peachy kind of colour will work, or you could use one of the iridescent pearls. They work as well. There's lots of different options that you can use for this sort of stuff, so don't feel restricted to whatever I happen to have used, because there is quite often going to be something similar, if not, you know, very, very similar, that you can use as an alternative. So go through your stash, pull out, you know, what you've got, which is what I did when doing these. I knew I had something lying around that was very similar. I sort of decided that was what I was basing it on, but knew I had similar stuff, hunted around until I found it, and decided to just try and use those ones up. So that is the second one. And the last one should, in theory, be a little bit quicker. So this is the last one. We've got a Secret Sea card base. So there's not anywhere near as much colouring for this one. We've just got the one image to colour. And let me find all my pieces. Here we are. So some more of the Designer Series paper. Got some Secret Sea and Misty Moonlight cardstock, some basic white cardstock. I've used Berry Burst ink on Berry Burst cardstock for the butterfly, and then the, again, Old Olive and Mossy Meadow. I have another one. No, didn't use that one. I was looking at that thinking I don't have adhesive sheets on that, but that's right. That was a spare that I'm not using in this one. It's these two that I'm using for this card. This is just a backup. So let's put that aside before I forget. All right, and I need so I've used the Peaceful Pine bordered ribbon on this one. So this one's going across the middle. So let's do that before I forget. And I'll use the tear and tape once I find it. There it is. So this one's nice and easy. We can just stick it all the way across, and I have, yes, I've got enough of the tape to go around the back. I don't have to add extra pieces, which saves us a little bit of time. So we're going roughly halfway. Wrap that around, move these out of the way for the moment, and we will stick this one down. Let's just get that adhesive out of the top. There we go, that's better. So this one is a standard border, so it's not as thin as the previous two cards. So you've got a bit more room to move with this one. And just press it down well, particularly either side of the ribbon, just so it sits nicely. All right, and then we will adhere. Oh, might use the other side of that. It's getting a bit marked. Let's adhere do the Misty Moonlight to the Secret Sea. All right, now a little bit stamping. So nothing much. I'm using the sort of background stamp, and I'm using Golden Glow for this one, but we're going to stamp it off. So let me just move the card base out of the way. Just want to make sure it's well inked up, but I also want to stamp off quite well because I don't want it too dark. And I'm not too fussed about those little bits where it is a bit darker because they're most likely going to be covered anyway, so it's not a massive issue. And then we want Very Burst for the sentiment. And that one is going to go down the bottom, try and get it straight-ish. Alright, can move those out of the way, bring this one back in. So let's adhere this one. To the center there. Bring the card base back in and stick this down in the center. And press down, particularly on either side of the ribbon, just so it sits a bit flatter as much as you can. And we will get these two down first. Oops, there's a bit at the top there. Little bits of adhesive sticking to me everywhere at the moment. So we want this going over the top of the panel slightly, and then we'll add the other side. And that one overhangs a little bit as well. And then let's color this one quickly. So Granny Apple Green for the leaves. And we're going Berry Burst again for the center for this one, or for the flowers I should say. always get a bit mixed up with this flower, this leaf, particularly when it's upside down. I keep thinking that the edge of the flower is the leaf, but it's not. Okay. And that is good for the leaves. I'll bring the berry burst back in for the flowers. Kind of throwing things all over the place here, but oops. Okay, and what have we got? Got those little ones up there. We're nearly there. Thank you to everyone who is sticking around for the live. We did start, well, I started a bit later than I was expecting. I was expecting that I would be ready in time, but it didn't quite work that way. So thank you for waiting and for hanging around. I do appreciate it. Otherwise I just feel like I'm talking to myself. Alrighty. That is just about done. I'm going to add, even though it probably doesn't matter, just a little bit of golden glow to the centers there. It's very subtle. No one's really going to be noticing all that much, but we do. We do. Okay. Oh, let's go one more. Right. Let's get these down. Oops. If they'll cooperate. All right. And that one, we're just going to bring that down a little bit so it's not right up. And as you can see, all those little the dark bits from the stamping are a bit darker than I would have liked. You can't see them, they are covered. So if you find that similar sort of thing happens and you've got, you know, it's not looking as good as you'd like, it's a bit darker in spots and all the rest of it, don't worry about it too much. There is a good chance that it will end up being hidden, and if you sort of place the pieces before you stick the cardstock down, if you place all your die cut pieces roughly where you want them to go and you find it's not, then just flip your cardstock over and try again on the other side. Oops, that needs to be a bit longer. Not much, but, and I think I'm happy enough with that, so I'm going to trim that one now. Just makes it a little bit easier. There we go. Oh, maybe spoke too soon. That's better. So again, going with the double bow. And we can shorten this now. And we'll just even that one up a little, but we do need to make that one a bit, there we go, that's better. And we'll stick that on down on the bottom of the stem. Tuck it under if you need to. If it's sort of sticking up a bit too much, just use your take your pick tool and tuck it underneath. We'll add the insert, and then it's just embellishments, and we are done. And same thing again, I've used a few different embellishments on this one, including the dewdrops, but I am going to use up my old pearl adhesive gems instead of those for this one. But we also need the butterflies. Where have my butterflies gone? Here they are. So I'm going to use a couple of these ones. And I want I'm going to put one of the pearls, the iridescent pearls, in the center of that one, and then break up my gem trio and stick that down. Stick a few of those down as well. I'll just tuck that under if it's sticking out. That's all good. Another one up the top there. And there we go. Third one is done. Alrighty. Let me just bring all of these back in. And where is my first one? There we go. So these are the 3 cards from this week's class. So remember, you have until the end of Saturday night to get your orders in. So it's $75 or more before shipping and after Stamp and Rewards redemption, and I'll send the kits to make 2 each of the 3 cards. Now, as I promised, and they're under a pile of stuff now, but we have glimmer brushes. So, and I won't go through all of them because it is quite late already, but so these are similar to the Wink of Stella. So this one, but these are coloured, and similar to the Wink of Stella, you do need to take the center, the little rubber ring off. You can, if you are traveling, so like you're taking these away with you or chucking them in a bag, you may want to hold on to these to put it back on before you put these in your bag. But to use them, and I haven't tested any of these yet, so I'm doing this for the first time with these new glimmer ones, but take the ring off. Similar sort of thing to the Wink of Stella. Give it a shake, and then this center barrel, this little rubber bit, you just want to give that a squeeze, and you'll probably need to do it a few times. And good thing with this one is you will start to see eventually, and be patient, but you will see the color coming down into the brush, and hopefully it is going to do it for me. Now it does take, particularly when it's new, it does take a few goes to for it to come down. I think I get, yep, there we go. Can see it starting to come down, so do be patient, give it a few squeezes, see how it goes, and let me get a scrap of actual white. So it's not quite there yet, needs a bit more, give it another good squeeze. Starting to come down, there we go. So there you can see, so unlike the Wink of Stella, which is clear, these ones, you've got the colour, so you get the colour and the shimmer. So these are really good, you know, to, if you don't want to, if you haven't got stamping blends or don't want to use them, or if it's a 2-step stamping image but you don't want to do the 2-step, and you just want to colour and add some glimmer at the same time, and you don't need to do both. You can just do one and get both at once. So these are currently available in all of the new in colours, so Golden Glow, Crisp Cantaloupe, Peaceful Pine, Hydrangea Hue, and Barely Blush. And I may just put this back on for the moment, just in case, because I will probably end up throwing this around. Just have to make sure I remember to take it off when I go to use it next, but that is fine. So these are available now, so yeah, have fun. They are a lot of fun. These are going to be fun. And these will go really well with the one of the new papers that we've got that is lots of outline images. So it'd be a lot of fun to colour with those. I may have to do a colouring class with those ones. That'll be fun. Alrighty, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me and for waiting for me and hanging around with the late start. Next week, let me just change my camera back. There we go. Next week is Relaxing Waterside. So that is the bundle or the suite that coordinates with the April paper pumpkin. So got cards for that ready. So yeah, if you've got the paper pumpkin kit as well, I highly recommend the suite to go with it, because the products all coordinate. It'll make it so much easier to do alternative cards with that kit, and it's really, really nice. I'm really enjoying it. I may have to do another class with it of some sort. We shall see. Alrighty, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the projects. If you're watching on YouTube and you enjoyed the projects, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I do appreciate it very much. Alrighty, until next time, happy crafting. Bye.